reality is but a matter of perspective. All one has to do is put the mind to a different mindset. One is only the master of their own dreams after all. Hello, I hope you're ready to defy all logical means in this highly unusual experiment in Superliminal. So, this is a puzzle indie game, and we are playing this on the Switch, and this was brought to physical form by Superliminal Games, and is the only version currently in a physical format of the title. Now, this is a type of game in the vein of like Portal-esque type puzzle games where they give you a bit of a bizarre setting and story setup and try to give you some mind-numbingly, uniquely strange puzzles to solve. And it's pretty enjoyable in that sense, to be quite honest. It's really impressive, the kind of stuff they do in this. So essentially, this game uses your perspective to control how you go about through the game. Now, the main gimmick of this game is using your perspective. Varying on the stage and level you're in is a different kind of theme of what's being used in the game. The mechanics don't always stay 100% the same in every single stage, as sometimes there's a different mechanic that takes over in that regard. Using perspective, you can cause objects to be smaller and bigger, and change how you look at your environment. Now, like I said, this is the general concept of most of the stages, but a few of them have their underlying own mechanics that focus on a different idea. But overall, there is an overarching theme in each stage of what kind of puzzles you generally get involved with before it all commingles into one crazy ass breaking the insanity thing at the end kind of stuff. You play as a character who's going in for a new type of therapy, dream therapy. Now, one of the recurring things in the game is meeting your doctor. Your doctor you meet through a boombox through your dreams, and they give varying comments that start to give you a bunch of different ideas of what's going on in the story. And honestly, the story is not a real big factor in this. This is really more about the gameplay kind of experience. You'll go through the game and you'll have this repeating kind of revolving door aspect as you go through the game, going through the reception area of the clinic you're at for your dream therapy. And throughout the game, you'll also encounter boomboxes of your doctor who will say certain things that give you different ideas of what's going on in the story. Now, the story is certainly not a huge factor in this game. It is a bit of tongue-in-cheek ha-ha-ha at what's going on, but overall it's a small aspect of the game. The puzzles are really the larger aspect of it, and being a puzzle game, puzzle games usually don't generally last ungodly long amounts of time. Like, basically there's two types of puzzle games. There's the puzzle game that doesn't overstay its welcome, which this falls into, and then there's the kind that have so many ungodly repeating stages that go on forever and ever and ever, it feels. And those type are usually, time waster type puzzle games, usually. So, now, this title is going to likely drive you about 2 to 5 hours depending on your puzzle skills, and if you're just doing the storyline or the additional challenge modes and such that are unlocked when you finish the game, or just even generally replay the game to do some of the secret little extras, which aren't obviously that big of a thing that you need, but if that's your cup of tea to do. It's a very interesting game. It's first-person perspective, and it generally is interacting with your environment, grabbing stuff, and changing your perspective with things. There's not really a whole lot to the controls. You do have jumping, just normal jumping, no double jumping and any that. So, and that's pretty much it. You grab objects, you can rotate them some, change the perspective of them, and jump around. There's not really any superpowers or anything at your disposal in this game. Now, you can get into situations where you can affect your character because it being physics-based with objects and that means you can get crushed or squished into the environment in a way not intended. Now, I didn't really have a whole lot of problem in this regard, because generally I usually try to be careful about that kind of thing with these kind of games, but I could easily see you being capable of getting stuck in a wall or the floor or something by accident and not by a purposeful reason. Now, other than that, you don't really die in this game. You can try to squish yourself and shit, but stuff kind of just bounces off you. You do gotta remember, this is a dreamscaped world, so, you know, things just bounce off, right? Things that do have fail states to them usually just kind of throw you back at the beginning area, so it's not really like any horrifying tale to be fearful of that. I really enjoyed the concept of the game. It was a lot of fun. That the story left a little bit more to desire, but was enough to keep it interesting with a narrative of some kind. I'd say the biggest, trickiest thing about this game is really giving it its value. While I really enjoyed it and stuff, it's hard to really look at its price. Its digital price is $19.99, and the reason I say that's kind of hard is when you look at a lot of games that try to cater to the kind of portal audience. Because, I mean, there's certainly been a lot of different types of puzzle games going in the direction that Portal did. And it's hard to think that some of that wasn't a little bit of influence in this. But for about 2 to 5 hour game, it's $19.99. Now, that ain't an ungodful amount of money, but when you compare it to some of the competition, or just Portal itself, Portal 1 and Portal 2, for us console plebs, as console peasants, as the PC universe likes to call us. You know, we got these in bundles, you know, the orange box and stuff. We didn't get to experience them as standalone normal games like PC did. Portal 2 was the closest to that, obviously, because that was a much bigger game in its own right. But Portal 1 was in the orange box. But even with Portal 2, it still came with a co-op mode and stuff that had its own story. It wasn't just the tacked-on story mode being given co-op. It was its own little story mode shit. Putting a price on a small experience can always be difficult when it comes to people, because it depends a lot on what you value in a game. Some people want a nice, not overstaying experience, and other people want some bang for the buck. And usually for small experiences are usually not the best place to go, obviously, for a bang for your buck, usually, because, well, people need to eat and get paid for the time they spent making a game. And even if a game is short, doesn't mean, you know, obviously it was some asset flip they did in one day and then tossed on to the, you know, the Steam store for $10 or something. Know what I mean? Like, it takes time and passion sometimes to make some of these things, and this was a very interesting take of a puzzle aspect of that. Now, they asked for $19.99 for this digitally, Now, physically, like I said, it was a Super Whale Games release, which means it's sold out now. It's very rare to see a Super Whale Games game still in stock at this point when I do a review on it. So, but for $20, you'll get what is basically a 2 to 5 hour game, depending on your puzzle skills. Now, when you compare that to the competition like Portal and stuff, Portal 1 and Portal 2 are $9.99 these days. Now, it is important to note, those were price changes. You do gotta remember, Portal 2 was released as a full-fledged retail release on console. And I'm not really sure what its original price digitally was. From what I can tell research-wise, it appears to have originally been $49.99 digitally. And people might get the wrong idea looking at Portal and be like, well, these are supposed to be the best of the best, and they're $10 each. What the fuck? Overpriced garbage. And I actually, when researching about this game, even saw a few people even use that kind of logic against the game, and I feel that's a little unfair. Like, because they changed the prices. I mean, it's a little disingenuous, isn't it? Oh, Portal 2, one of the best-selling games ever, you know, it's only $10. That wasn't the case always, you know? That feels a little unfair to just be like, oh, well, Portal 2's $10, this piece of shit's so priced, yo. I think $20 is an okay price for this. I think for the uniqueness of the puzzles and stuff, I really liked the game, and I think $20 is a fair and okay price for it. $20 is not the end of the... $10 to $20 for a game is not the end of the world. Now, of course, the bigger question is if you're wanting to go for that elusive physical. Honestly, I would probably put this in the whole $19.99 kind of thing. But, you know, if you're going to really push it, $29.99 physically, I mean, I could see that being a price point some limited companies went with. I can't really remember what Super Whale Games price was, because their prices are always changing, fluctuating on the game, and because they're a foreign currency, that's another addition that just causes it to fluctuate the price. So I'd probably say Super Whale Games price was probably somewhere in the 30s. That seems to be generally where they aim for their prices a lot of their games when they release them. The sad thing is, if you want this physically though, that's not the price point anywhere in the ballpark of the price point you're gonna see this thing for sale. People are scalping the fuck out of this for like $80+. Absolute garbage, honestly. What a horrible fucking thing. And it's just a short little puzzle game. Now, luckily for you, this is one of those games that is available to you on free. So you can get this on GOG. So $19.99 GOG, excellent version to look into and say shit to those fucking scalpers and say shit to those digital storefronts that don't want to give you your ownership of your game, you know. It's a win-win for everyone, at least in that scenario. Yeah. Now, being the Switch version, as I said, it's not absolutely perfect. Like I said, it's physics-based, so there can be some scenarios where you get stuck in the environment. But generally, I didn't run into too many performance-related problems other than really loading. Loading being one of the Switch's other banes of existence sometimes with some games. Some stages take a little bit of time to load, but it's not the end of the world. Otherwise, I didn't really have any problems, slowdowns, or anything with the game. It ran fine from beginning to end. I didn't find any weird issues, but like I said, I could see collisional problems happening with objects if you were to be not mindful of it or even do it on purpose. So yeah, I'm gonna go with a value score of 20, like I said, so we'll go with that. Otherwise, you're just gonna have a nice little puzzle perspective game of messing with objects and that to solve puzzles. And I generally thought a lot of them were pretty good out of the box thought process. Also, a few additional things to go into. When you beat the game, you'll unlock challenge mode, developer commentary. Developer commentary is a pretty normal thing to see a lot on these type of games, in my opinion. And on top of that, they did add a co-op mode that I did not get to experience because that was actually added after I went through the game, if I remember correctly. But that is not on the physical release either, FYI. The co-op mode was something added down the road after that, so that is a download only option, so you can still obviously update that with the Switch version, but like usual, most of like 99% of the time that I usually go through these without the patches and that. Only a few rare exceptions with, like, you know, Elder Scrolls, well, not Elden Ring. Oh my goodness, my brain is watered today. Elden Ring, you know, Soul style games. You know, I like to experience the online aspect of those, so those are some of the exceptions on that. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and get into spoilers. So, as I said, as you go through the game, you'll run into cassettes of your doctor talking to you, and you also have a computer thing that's talking to you as you go through your dream therapy. And a lot of different settings give you a lot of different weird ideas of what's going on. It starts to seem like maybe you're being experimented on, or maybe there's something worse going on than what you originally thought. Or there's also a whole scenario area where it's like there's a murderer loose that I actually was starting to get concerned whether there might be something actually in the shadows trying to kill us. Like, the game kind of flips its mood of what the story feels like it's doing. But generally, like, I took the story as each level kind of being a different representation of your thought process, your brain. Because it is dream therapy. So you're going through different parts of your brain, like the whole mortal scenario area being like your paranoia and that. But that is kind of how I interpreted that myself. The game itself really is pretty brisk on the story at the end. Basically just saying, like, you know, your gene therapies worked and it's being successful and stuff, and you know, life is hard, we all have problems and stuff, but kind of just giving you a little bit of like way of hope, and at the end is like, just remember, you gotta wake up, and that's just where the game's left. Kind of just giving you the idea that to solve life's problems, to kind of look at them with a different perspective. Give them a different perspective, and you may find a way to overcome life's hardships. With that, the game pretty much ends, and you're not really given anything more about your character's life or the problems or anything that went about in after the game with that. You just kind of left with the puzzles you solved in the journey there. With that, though, I'd like to thank you for joining for the review today. And if you feel like you learned anything interesting, please feel free to leave a like. And if you feel like you learned nothing, feel free to leave a dislike, guilt-free. And until next time, always remember, when you're stumped, try to change your perspective on the puzzle. And maybe you'll solve the true mystery at heart.